mean, I did want to know, like, Caleb, I asked you about this once, and I feel like we briefly talked about it. What the hell is the deal with the ayahuasca shit? Like, I saw posts about that from tech guys in particular being like, this is like destroying the minds of people everywhere. You do it once and you come out different. You divorce your wife. You
as opposed to divorcing you.
I mean, it's
pre-divorce.
It's a hallucinogen. There's like not much more to it than that.
I don't like the idea of speaking my truth that clearly. I think there's something in there. I don't know. Like I've do a lot of therapy, and I feel like I got everything out. But you never know when there's a dead animal. Like you never know if I'm gonna be like, yeah. And also, every time I eat chocolate, I feel sad, and I didn't know that. Like something, like not anything like really life-defining, just an annoying thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any sort of hallucinogenic or psychedelic?
No,
before?
I've only ever done weed. Weed works really well with me. It does what I always wished drinking would do.
Yeah. June, have you ever done any of that kind of shit? Because like, if you've done one, I feel like I don't do any of that stuff anymore. But I had my era of
yeah, dude. I was all over that shit for a while.
Yeah,
I've done like microdosing shrooms just a few times. Funny story is like my old boss before I work where I do now. I like up in Milwaukee, my boss would be like every once in a while like, hey, I'm growing shrooms. Do you want to buy some? And I'm like, sure. So I bought shrooms for my old boss, which was like like a professional warehouse, like office type job type situation. And I would like roll up to her house. It was like in the winter, like it was almost a year ago that I bought it from her, maybe like January this year. I rolled up to her house and she threw a cup, like a Starbucks cup full of shrooms into my car.
So we're talking like a small or a medium?
It was like a grande. Yeah, a grande.
A grande. Well, that's not a size from McDonald's, so...
That's like a large. I think that's a large.
I fear any like substance which will... I've already gone through a lot like of too much therapy. Like I'm annoyed by it now, like digging into it like a cavity.
Yeah.
And if I find out there's some shit that I was totally unaware with, I'll be so pissed off with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I did it all.
I was think my way through this.
I did it all in high school before it was a thing that I ever had to worry about, like therapizing about. It was just like
I was just friends in high school. That's the difference.
You know,
I did not.
So I would do it on like a Friday and then spend Saturday and Sunday laying around. I don't have the luxury of doing recovering.
The after effects.
I don't have the. Well, I used to do a lot of
that ruin us.
I used to do a lot of acid, and that's like a 12-hour trip. So you're pretty exhausted afterward.
Acid's quite kind of ruinous. Shrooms not really.
See, I could do the Joe Rogan of the left. I'm just like, so what was that like? Wow, that sounds
You're doing
crazy.
a great job.
What was that like? Huh?
Wow.
Just a credulous goon. Well, no, sorry, can't say that word on this podcast. That means something else here. Both a process and
gooning is
it's a lifestyle. It's a mindset.
It just occurred to me that my dad is
the whole can of worms.
My dad is laying down in the other room and is now probably. I'm recording this from a hotel room in Novi, Michigan. So he's probably hearing everything I have to say.
What's that, Sonny? Gooning? what's that about?
He wakes up in the morning and looks at you different.
Yeah, gooning. All I can really say is that I'm so happy I didn't know what gooning was like when I did those kinds of drugs, because it would have like really fucked me up. I think
really just
you would have been a gooner.
Yeah, it would have given you something to do.
But like you can experience, I guess, like when I felt very different every time I had done either mushrooms or acid, that like a different person. I get that. I'm assuming it's the same for the Aaron Rodgers drug. I don't know. But like the last time I did mushrooms was like the worst experience of my life. And then like after that, I just started having panic attacks. Like I'd never had a panic attack before. And then like I've had them ever since. So
you are really not selling mushrooms.
It's like in Dungeons and Dragons, you just like roll critical failure. Like you just have panic attacks now.
Every day every day from now
you got an actual debuff.
I did, dude. I got a debuff from fucking.
You have like a little icon by your name now that says you're
minus
bright
one
red.
to all stats. Yeah.
I will say the few times I've had shrooms, not had that experience. I have not. I have the last time I had a panic attack was like probably when I was 22, like 6 years ago or so. But
My
that's unrelated to my shrooms use.
My thing is that weed works really well on me, but sadly it does something to me where it forces me to the truth. If I am not really being honest with myself about something, my weed, I'll feel good, but I'll feel an edge, a nasty edge. And if I am fully in denial, as I have been several times, it will just be like, yeah, what if you felt different anxious? What if you tried a new flavor? Cherry, diet anxious. You're going to feel happy but extremely panicky. And you're not going to know what to do with that. And then actually working it through, it's been very good because like I'm in a good place right now. I feel great. Not that would ever go on a podcast with any weed in my system, and I don't think people would ever do that. But
no one would.
But also like I can't. It means that if I'm not in a great place, I sometimes have to avoid weed if it's bad enough. If it's like medium-term bullshit, like fine, this will make me feel good. But if it's like something severe, I'm like avoiding. It's only going to make me think about it.
No, I'm the same exact way.
That's
why I hardly smoke or like do edibles, especially anymore, like weed, because so I don't have panic attacks, but I have weed-induced panic attacks. So I typically avoid it because it just like puts me in such a weird mental space most of the time where like unless it's really light like mids, I'm gonna be suffering. Also, when you mentioned the like, oh, no one would do weed and go on a podcast, just made me think of the Bill Maher podcast, the one where he talks to like 18-year-olds and like flirts with them and like while he's
that
high.
Gross, that damp little goblin.
Yeah, so that dude is crazy.
So you're applied to colleges yet?
It was like Steve-O, who's like famously in recovery, was like, "Hey, can you not smoke weed and blow it in my face?" Or like, "Can you not do that while we're talking?"
Yes.
And Bill Maher was like,
he's like,
"No, I'm not going to do that."
New rule: I smoke weed when I want.
Yeah, what a piece of shit, dude!
Such a
I
fucking
hate so
But then Bill Burr went on there and just like sat there yelling at him, which was great. He's like, "What are you talking about?" That's a terrible Bill Burr impression. That's just Jerry Seinfeld.
What's the deal with smoking?
What's the deal with being from Boston?
All stand-up comedians are basically the same. You're fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I once saw Sarah Silverman, and she was, it was at this weird comedy thing that Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age put on, and so I have never heard someone bomb in that big a room in my life. Like she was like. She made some sort of joke about like the kind of .com joke you do in 2008, and people would be like, "Okay, we've had the internet a while now." It was like typing the wrong URL into an address, and then Bill Burr came on.
What's that about?
No, it really was like that XXX. Whoa. And it was like very clearly she was not like recently around a computer, so it was a struggle. Then Bill Burr came in, and half the room loved him and half the room hated him because his thing he said was, "Look, the way I look at Palestine is," and already a great start. The moment he said that, I was like, whatever happens now is the best. He says, "Look, it's like you don't blow up a hospital because Hamas right being there. You know, you don't. If someone's holding a baby, you don't punch through the baby." And it was like it was LA, so like 50% of the people were like woo, and 50% was like, "Oh my gosh." Where's Bill Burr doing something? I don't know what's wrong with this, but it upsets me. And I was like
Sounds
in
like
a
an
weird.
Incredible
What was weird? What was weirder though was
fuck?
I was in the late stages of a relationship that was deteriorating, and I was on like a little extra because I was trying to avoid thinking about that. So I was just sat there in this, and there were like 17 acts in it. Like it went like Josh Homme's kids played at one point.
Oh my god!
Like it was so, and like I came out of it like emotionally rattled. Because I should be clear, he didn't play a single Queens of the Stone Age song.
Oh boy!
I got to hear his fucking child's band. I got to hear Bill Burr play drums with John McEnroe, the tennis player. And I'm just there, like, trying not to think of exactly what's happening, right? Like, in that, like, what I'm trying to think of, like, I'm not thinking about the person next to me right now. I'm trying to avoid those thoughts. But I'm also very unsure of what I want to do with what's there. And my mate Casey, who I adore, had just got into cameras, film cameras. And like, to be clear, adore Casey's one of my closest friends, and I usually like so game for like every time he goes down rabbit hole. But he's just like, so yeah, the difference between these Kodak films is this. I'm just like, I can't talk to her, and I want to talk to you, but I'm overwhelmed by the concept of film photography. And every time I look at the stage, something else is happening. This is also why I'm scared of like anything like acid, other than it being like illegal and that.
Acid would have made that experience so much more terrifying. And
it
worse.
was already so strange. It was already like a Coen Brothers thing, where I was just like, well, what if I had more weed? And the answer was, I will feel worse.
That's anytime I do weed. All right, I guess we should get started on what we're actually going to talk about rather than drugs.
Yeah, do you have anything that you want to get out of the way, or anything that we should know?
Just talk about the current state of the tech industry. I got a lot of thoughts in my head about this. We can comfortably zip around whatever though. Yeah, I know. I just started reading about this stuff. Did you know they got money in the computer now?
Yeah.
This guy is
okay, here's my first interview question for you, Ed. When did you start getting mad at the computer?
Well, that was when I started using it when I was 11. No.
That's when it started. Damn.
I mean, truthfully, I think this is the actual year I jokeified fully.
Yeah.
Because last year, I was just thinking about this earlier. Last year I was still writing shit tons. I've been writing shit tons for years. But there was something missing. I felt like I was kind of like looking at stuff and saying, this is bad on its own. This is bad. And I'd written The Rot Economy, but I'm like, I'm missing something. And then something around the Sam Altman firing thing at the end of that year got me there. But this was the year I wrote, like, The Man Who Killed Google Search, The People Killing Facebook, like, actually dug into how these companies work. And I thought when I did this, I was actually a little bit intimidated by it, because I'm like, I'm going to read something that makes me think, fuck, these guys have got so many ideas that I don't know. Like, they probably have some grand conspiracy. Except it's the opposite. It's just like these management consultant Mr. Bean types.
You always kind of you ground me on that when we're talking about something even adjacent to this. Like, you reminded me last night when we were talking about, I was asking for context, guys. I was asking Ed for, some resources. I'm for my other show with Marcos. I'm doing like kind of a little digging a little bit to the relationship between like the intelligence community and defense contractors and like Silicon Valley. And you had said, just remember, there actually really is no great conspiracy. They're all just fucking stupid. It's kind of like Burn After Reading, where you realize that like they don't really know what's going on.
And just to be clear, this doesn't mean that they have no plans or no strategy.
Or
it just means
evil.
They're all trying to grow as much as possible and do whatever they can to either manage that growth or extend it. It's why all of these companies do like 11 things very poorly. They've done it just because they need something else to add on top of the fire. They're just throwing shit in.
There's no through line between like AI and social media. That should not be. That's gum and nuts. It should not be together.
So what this means at scale is every single thing that I read this year, like I was just posting about this in Blue Sky a couple of hours ago, reading about Facebook. That company is evil, but it's not like arch evil. It's like fucking asshole, dumb shit evil. It's like, well, we shouldn't stop the anti-vax groups growing because we need the numbers to go up. People click these things.
They need more advertisements to be seen. They need more clicks
yeah,
to be
sure,
to
but that's all. That's what you get by keeping people on the website. And if the Plandemic movie, which is a COVID conspiracy, is getting millions of people to keep on Facebook, then we keep them on Facebook. Who gives a fuck? And actually, there is a literal letter from a guy called Andrew Bosworth, who's CTO of Facebook now, saying that all things were justified for growth. That's a thing he said, including a terror attack planned on Facebook that kills people and bullying. These people do not have a big plan, because if they did, they would actually be significantly worse.
Talk to me about this terrorist attack. Hang on. What?
No, there is a letter called The Ugly that was circulated. It's about 2017, reported by BuzzFeed, actually. Back when BuzzFeed had news. They were great.
They were one of the best at the time.
Yeah, sadly, they were.
Yeah, sadly, it's crazy that that's the case, but it's true.
And it was reported in 2018. I'll drop it in the chat. But the thing is,
Hey guys, Caleb here. This has been a preview of an episode that you can find on our Patreon that is located at patreon.com/Western Kabuki. The rest of the episode is very funny. There's a little bit over an hour left on this one. It has some really good stories, and we talk kind of a little bit more about the current status of the tech industry and how various tech CEOs and politicians are failing through a PR perspective, and it's a lot of fun and very interesting. So feel free to check that out, or just follow Ed at betteroffline.com. Thanks.